Hey everyone, this is Mike. In this podcast, I wanted to talk about a corporation's bylaws and what they are. Essentially, bylaws are the corporation's governing document. They describe how the business operates on a daily basis. And when we talk about how the business operates, what we're talking about is the election of board members, when board meetings are to be conducted, special meetings, size of the board, how board meetings are called to order and what kind of advance notice is required, who has the authority to determine who can execute contracts, what is the process for issuing a replacement stock certificate, who has access to the books of the company, who gets to vote, how do you issue shares, what are the functions of each individual officer, what type of qualifications are needed for each director, the formation of committees. And this is what's pretty cool about a corporation's bylaws. When it comes to the formation of committees, you can actually lay out a provision that the board has the right to create committees in the first place and what purpose these committees will serve. So the number of committees and the types vary extensively. You can have an executive committee, you can have a compensation committee, you can have an audit committee. The list goes on and on and on. Who has the authority to execute contracts is yet another type of bylaw that can be drafted with the corporation's bylaws. And when it comes to voting, a majority vote of the board is required to amend or repeal the bylaws unless the articles provide otherwise. And while we're on the topic of a corporation and its bylaws, a closely aligned issue is closely held corporations. Those are what we might consider to be the mom and pop operations that we see every day in the form of pizzerias, laundromats, nickel and dime stores, et cetera, et cetera. Essentially, a closely held corporation is a business that has only a few shareholders. In a closely held corporation, the stock is not readily tradable. The corporation shareholders are actively involved in the business. In fact, it's not unusual for the shareholders to take on other roles, perhaps even roles on the committee and in the daily operations of the company. Each shareholder has a dual role in the corporation, such as serving on the board of directors or serving as an officer of the corporation. Some courts even compare a corporation to that of a partnership. And by that, what I'm referring to is that the fiduciary duty that one shareholder has to another shareholder is like the fiduciary duty that exists between partners. Each shareholder has a duty of fair play to his fellow shareholders because the shareholders are in a very close setting. In fact, some of these closely held corporations are family operations that we see every day. So that's a little bit of a blurb on corporations and its bylaws and what a closely held corporation is.